From the digital desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not. Coming up on today's show, well, we are getting somewhat of a break from the wind for today. We'll go over the forecast for today coming up. As we get into the weekend, we are looking at temperatures for many that will be at or above average. There will be an exception into northeastern South Dakota. With the passage of a front tonight, I think we'll see a chance at a light wintry mix into north central, northeastern South Dakota. Maybe some cooler temperatures will hold across northeastern KELOLAND as we get into the first half of the weekend, and I'll show you more details on that coming up. Christmas heat, that's still looking good. In fact, it's looking better than what it has over the past couple of days, and I put together a chart to better explain what information I look at when I get up in the morning as to what these models are thinking for Christmas Day. And we'll see how warm we get New Year's Eve. That's probably worth a mention that we can see temperatures that will remain above average as we get into New Year's Eve. And, of course, the pattern for the next 2 weeks will take us into the first couple of days of the new year. Now, in the meantime, we are looking at winds for today that will pick up again into western South Dakota, but not nearly as strong as what we had yesterday, but you will still notice some of these wind gusts may get into that mid 40 to 50 mile per hour range. That 45, 46 mile per hour popped in Rapid City shortly after midday. And at 3 o'clock, it does show a westerly wind at 40 miles per hour. Again, these are a look at the wind gusts. Eastern KELOLAND with southerly winds, we can see wind gusts 30 miles per hour. Maybe a little more across eastern South Dakota. This will help our temperatures warm. We are looking at numbers probably low to middle 30s in southeastern South Dakota. That should be around Sioux Falls, maybe even a little warmer in Yankton. They can hit the lower 40s. So after starting today with temperatures in the single digits in eastern South Dakota, as we get this southerly wind, then we'll see these temperatures warm. And then for tomorrow, I mentioned that this front will move through. It can spark a slight chance at a couple of very light showers, maybe starting in the form of rain, ending in the form of snow. Moisture is very limited. Don't be overly surprised if there is that light shower as we get into the evening, overnight, as this front moves through. And then, of course, behind it, we'll have that northwest wind. And we'll have a strong wind during the afternoon. Watertown, Brookings, areas to the east, we could see wind gusts 30 miles per hour or more. With this northwest wind, I think it will keep this colder air in place in northeastern South Dakota. That's for tomorrow, and then Sunday we'll go with a relatively light wind speed. So here's Futurecast for today. That's a look at midday. We could have that light wintry mix into northeastern South Dakota. That's also associated with this warmer weather that's trying to push into northeastern KELOLAND. So we can get this light wintry mix. Precipitation's looking limited, so anything that falls hits the ground again will remain very light. And then there's that front as we do get into late today, going into this evening, tonight, that front moves through, and right behind it, we can spark a light wintry mix that I'll talk more about coming up in the next weather segment. Our forecast for today. Now, I mentioned that numbers started in the single digits in eastern South Dakota. As southerly winds continue to increase, they'll help bring in some warmer weather. And look at the temperature difference. 47, Lake Andes, 41 in Yankton, and then we have numbers in the middle 30s around Sioux Falls, middle to upper 20s. That will cover Sisseton, Watertown, Brookings, Marshall, Worthington, and Spencer. And then in the central South Dakota, temperatures will reach the 40s and 50s. And then western KELOLAND will have our numbers back in the 50s and 60s. For tonight, yes, there is that slight chance for a light wintry mix. Temperatures will fall to the teens and 20s. And notice we have that west to northwest wind for the overnight hours. That's behind that front. That, again, will knock down those temperatures in parts of northeastern South Dakota for tomorrow. And we'll talk more about your weekend details coming up. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Whether or Not. The weekend is just about here, and it's time to talk about our weekend forecast. With this cold front moving through tonight, that will help bring in cooler temperatures. Now, this model's, I think it just keeps the numbers into the teens for Aberdeen. I think we will be warmer than that, probably getting back to the 20s. But just keep in mind, again, this is just a grid point that shows up for Aberdeen. I do think our numbers will be a little bit warmer than what this is trying to show. And I do agree with those numbers in the 30s and 40s in western South Central South Dakota, 30s in and around Sioux Falls. Here, we'll probably see temperatures in the 30s, possibly getting close to 40 degrees. So we'll go with these northwest winds for tomorrow. Notice how that continues right into the afternoon and evening. After that chance for a light wintry mix during the overnight hours tonight, it looks like our forecast will be dry as we do jump into Sunday. Now, Sunday's winds, they do change direction. Notice more of a southerly wind. That will help bring in the warm temperatures. Numbers by maybe the midday hour showing 30s, 40s. Western, central South Dakota will continue to push that colder air in eastern and northeastern KELOLAND to the north. Try to bring in those temperatures in the 30s. Try to bring in widespread 30s across eastern South Dakota as well as northeastern South Dakota. So as we do take a look at our numbers for this weekend, we're in the middle 30s for Sioux Falls. Mostly sunny, partly cloudy. Temperatures for Aberdeen, upper 20s to near 30. This morning we're going with numbers at 30 for tomorrow, 31 on Sunday. Here, either day, close to 40, 38 tomorrow, 42 on Sunday, and numbers in western South Dakota will warm to the 40s. And then Watertown may stay in the 20s. On Saturday, try to warm the freezing by Sunday, and as we bring in a couple of other cities for you too. Huron, we go from 34 Saturday to 37 on Sunday, and this all happens with dry conditions. So we'll just continue to watch the numbers as we do go through the weekend. But overall, it looks like Sunday will end up being warmer than what's expected on Saturday. Coming up next, we'll talk about the heat coming for Christmas Day. And we'll see if that lasts into New Year's Eve. And we'll be joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens. Stay with us. You're watching Whether or Not. Brian, I think we need more of a different jingle when we're talking about Christmas, New Year's Eve heat. We need something more festive. We'll have to think about that.
And it's not exactly the traditional-looking Christmas, or at least the one that most people would want in their minds. Maybe not everybody.
It's not. You're right. Yeah, maybe not everybody, but we are looking at that Christmas Day heat. It's been something that we've kind of been teasing, I think, for the past couple of days, ever since I saw the model come in and suggest, I think, 57 for Christmas Day. And I do have a list going back to, I think, Tuesday of what these models, how many models we're thinking that will be at least 50 out of 10 different models that I look at, 50 degrees for Christmas Day in Sioux Falls. And that would set a record, or tie a record at 50. So if we get above 50, that would set a record. And I know your family wants a white Christmas.
Well, my daughters do.
Not everybody
the boys,
else.
Maybe they do too. But, it's interesting about that, Scott, that list in Sioux Falls. There are a lot of people that would think back 1959. What else do you have there? 1957, 1963. That seems like an era of time that I would have been told that the winters and the Christmases were always cold and snowy. And No,
not quite.
They're
Christmas
not.
Day, that's our record, 1959 at 50. And it's interesting to see how the numbers in Aberdeen, Pierre, Rapid City, much warmer.
They are.
By 6 degrees to set a record. Aberdeen at 56, Pierre at 56. That was back in not that long ago. 99, I was here. I think you were thinking of coming here maybe by that time.
Yeah, probably finishing up senior year of college. But a variety of years in there too. Some of those are older. 1899 in Aberdeen what is that? That's a 49-degree high. So, you know.
And the one next to it's 1893.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a 1993. It's 1893.
So the idea of a warm Christmas is nothing new.
It's
Nothing new.
when you look at the years. So there's a pretty good chance that we'll end up in the top 5 for many. Do we set any records? That's something we'll have to watch, as we do have the Christmas Day records showing up at 50. I mentioned that in Sioux Falls, but also Brookings, Watertown, 49, and that's one of the coolest numbers that we do show. Then it's 52 in Marshall, Worthington, and Spencer. Now, I do want to get this in. Here's that temperature trend of the models that I look at during the morning before I come in for KELOLAND this morning. Well, on Tuesday, one of the 10 had a high temperature at 50 degrees or more, and they averaged out, all 10 of them averaged out to 40. Watch our trend. Wednesday, 2 of the 10, the average high 44. Yesterday, 2 of 10. The average high went up, though, by 2 degrees. Today, 5 of the 10 models showing temperatures at least 50 degrees for Christmas Day. And look at the average high, 50.
Yeah. And we still have more time to go, but let's be honest here. That's definitely something you got to pay attention to if you're forecasting weather around Christmas. Now, the timing, a day before maybe Christmas Eve is the warmer day for Rapid City versus Sioux Falls. But, you know, these are technicalities that we'll get into. But that main story that seems to be blurring is that we've got some really warm weather right around Christmas coming our direction.
Yeah, I mentioned, too, that Christmas week is looking just the opposite of what we had for Thanksgiving week. So any travel plans that you have, it's looking really good. But, of course, you still want to pay attention to the weather. We know how things can change. Let's go a week later. Let's talk about New Year's Eve. Now, the current records for New Year's Eve, they're actually a little warmer in Sioux Falls. To get into the top 3, we have to hit the lower 50s. The record in Sioux Falls is 54. The record in Aberdeen's 47, 56 in Pierre, and 63 in Rapid City. And you do notice that some of those records, as Brian pointed out too, go back to the 1800s, 1896, the 4th warmest for Sioux Falls. So, yeah, those are old records. We'll see what happens this time around. But the numbers for New Year's Eve right now, not looking as warm as what we may see for Christmas Day. And as we bring in a couple of the other cities for you, showing their records for New Year's Eve, 51 Watertown, 50 in Marshall, Aberdeen, that stands out, 47. And then, of course, 60s across western South Dakota, and also lower 60s coming in for Winter toward Yankton. Yankton at 62, Winter at 60, and cool, 49 degrees, the record high temperature New Year's Eve for Spencer, Iowa. So we are looking at temperatures for New Year's Eve that are expected to still be above average. Do we get to these records? We'll see. We'll see what happens as, of course, that gets closer. Right now, I just want to concentrate on what may happen for Christmas Day itself, as we may set some records the way it looks right now for Christmas Day for warmth. We'll talk more about our weather pattern after the break. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Whether or Not. Our pattern over the next, maybe 2 weeks, mostly dry, mostly warm. A lot of the days will end up being above average. It's just a matter of pick a day and how much above average will our temperatures be.
Right, and there's going to be, I'm sure at times, a little more of this tug of war that'll come back. I'm sure of that, but when you do the averages on these temperatures the next couple of weeks, we're definitely going to be above normal. Now, it is interesting as we start this whole theme of a dry Christmas week, a west-northwest flow, kind of a zonal flow here, so that's going to breed into that. The snow-covered or north is probably safe in Canada, so it's going to continue to, continue that colder effect here to the north, but we're not really forecasting a lot of that to seep south. And, Scott, we've mentioned this graphic a few different times. This is the snow depth forecast. And isn't it interesting that, I'll just let the whole video play out here. And, there are the haves and the have-nots. And I think we're probably in the latter as we're looking at decreasing snow. What do we have left? An inch as of Friday?
Officially, I meant to check that, and I haven't checked it. I can easily
I'm almost
check
sure
it
it's
as you're
an
going
inch.
through this. I mean, there are piles here and there. Oh, I shouldn't say here and there. I mean, a lot of the snow left. Piles in the parking lots, on the side of your driveway, at the end of your driveway. So we do have some snow, but does it technically go down as a white Christmas? You're right. The official depth is 1 inch from this.
That's what we have to have.
Right. And that's what we're
all
at
these
right now.
technicalities. So you're telling me we're going to have to take those old piles of snow and
Spread them
out?
around. Spread them around the National Weather Service office because they're the ones that do the measurements. We have to haul all that snow out there.
Yeah, and I can imagine that, they probably don't want to have any extra snow at their office. But, one thing I will say in all reality is that after all this snow around Thanksgiving and after, you would have thought, oh, it's a shoe-in. We'll have a white Christmas.
Right.
And then this
I wish we
drops.
would have kept a graphic on snow depth. I don't know if you have that in any of your archived graphic.
I'd have to look in I don't believe I did archive that, but there are ways we can go back other, data points on this. But it's going to melt. And here is the temperature anomaly.
Nice graphic.
Santa. Oh my. Well, this is a reality. That's what we're going to deal with. So if that helps you remember the forecast next week, well then I guess we accomplished our mission. Look at this in Oklahoma and Kansas. Woo. Do you think they're going to get 80-degree weather? I think so.
I mean, I know this morning you had 70s in Kansas, right?
Kansas and
even Christmas Eve, the model was saying 69 in Rapid City.
Yeah, that's why this is showing up. That's 69 for a high on Christmas Eve, and then maybe we'll just see where it goes after Christmas. Now, this is another little thing I want to bring up, and I know we've got just a little time to talk about this, but the airflow in the jet stream. So you can see the current of winds coming off the Rockies. Again, it's a zonal mild pattern. But, after Christmas, maybe we break this ridge down a little bit and, things can change. There's a low. Do you see that zipping across there? That might be of interest there. You know what that would bring? Probably some more wind.
Some wind. Just the way
go
that
figure.
looks.
That's, a little ways out. That's the 27th of December. But this ridge across the West Coast, look at how that tries to come back. So I think when you look at how this pivots back and forth, there's no question the average temperature forecast is well above normal. It's just the particular days. And then, of course, everybody wants to know, is January going to be like that? And you know what? At this point, Scott, probably not. We all know things change quite a bit. But again, the weather patterns, at least in my view, getting us through the end of the year, pretty much going to be warm and not much snow.
Yeah, quiet. But we will watch those systems that ride the U.S.-Canadian border. You mentioned that one, the 27th. So that is Christmas weekend.
Yep.
That can bring something through with strong wind. I mean, that's been the theme for these last two systems that have moved through. Very strong wind. How strong, we don't know it yet. But that's something we'll watch as we go through next week. Let's go ahead and show you our trend here with our snowfall outlook. Now, I was playing this behind the scenes. I'm like, I have to stop it and restart it because this is what it's showing. Next to nothing as we go out for the next 2 weeks. And that's showing up in the central and much of the northern plains. And, from what Brian just showed us with our above average temperatures, you should expect that. Now, what's the American model doing? Well, it does try to bring something in maybe the last couple of days of the month. We'll see if this holds true. I'm not going to put much weight into it right now. if I did see some agreement with the European model, then, my ears will go up a little more and say, okay, well, maybe there is something there. But that is something that we'll just have to watch maybe as we get into the last couple of days of the month. If the European model latches onto it, then, yeah, we'll probably put a little more effort into digging a little deeper into that one. But here is that long-range outlook that I think we showed this a lot in November. This goes out, 45 days? We were kind of looking at this more so in November before we got into our active weather pattern.
Yes, we were looking at that first chance of snow. I remember those days.
This one goes a little farther out. This goes out, 45 days? And you see the front end of this? Circling it with my cursor, that light gray that you see, very little snowfall. And you could follow that on the bar graph, too. So these are all the 100 members showing, the probability of seeing snow. It starts to get a little more scattered here. But, that's maybe at the, turn of the new year, and then it tries to bring something more agreement here as we do get into the end of the first week of January. And then we'll see where we go from there. It's just making some noise. But the front end of that through the rest of December, looking very minimal when you're looking at maybe some snowfall chances. And with our above average temperatures, it'd be hard to generate that snow anyway.
Yeah. So just keep watching January. We'll see if the pattern resets a little bit. And, there was a lot of talk around Thanksgiving time about this polar vortex and the stratospheric warming event. We've talked about that from time to time on our shows as well. And you and I kind of agree that a lot of times those things tend to reverberate with a lag time in there. And so there's some thought that maybe some of those kinds of things could end up reigniting some cold in the pattern in January, but a little bit early on the particulars exactly how bad that'll be. But I do think there's some merit to that. So maybe the best advice is take in the warmth if you like it and catch up on some things. Just enjoy some outdoor weather, right? And take a walk, and you don't have to worry about the cold.
Easier to walk the dogs. The dogs want to go outside too.
And if we can melt this ice at the end of our driveways, like me, wow.
That's our time for today. Thank you for joining us on this latest edition of Whether or Not. Have yourself a great day.